Farm channel. Today I'm going to be making hot pepper jelly with a little bit of a twist. I'm going to do pomegranate hot pepper jelly. And what I have here in front of me is some peppers that I just picked from our greenhouse. This is an assortment of green peppers, kind of a California long pepper. These can turn red, but they taste just fine green. I've got some hot chili peppers here and some early jalapenos. And this will give this jelly some good heat. I've got enough jalapenos and chili peppers in here that this is going to be delicious. Now in this jar here, what I have is apple cider vinegar, but this is apple cider vinegar that's a little bit special. So last time I made pepper jelly, I took the scraps, so like the stems and extra seeds, because I do put a little seeds in my pepper jelly just to add to the heat. I saved the stems and any scraps, and I put them in a couple mason jars soaking in this apple cider vinegar. So there's heat now to this apple cider vinegar because they sat in the fridge, it essentially pickled my pepper scraps. But now I have a spicy apple cider vinegar, so that's just going to add to the heat of the jelly and counteract with the sugar and the pomegranate for just a delicious pepper jelly that goes awesome over goat cheese, cream cheese. Goat cheese is by far my favorite. So what I'm going to do here, I strained the pepper scraps out here, and I have the apple cider vinegar ready to go. I have a little over 2 cups, so it should be perfect for this recipe. And so I'm going to get started. I have this dicer, which to me makes the perfect size diced pepper pieces for jelly, because I don't like too big of a piece. And it just makes chopping so much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and get started using this, and we'll get these peppers chopped up and we'll get everything in the pot, and I'll tell you what to do next. All right, so gloves. So these aren't the hottest peppers in the world, but I have made the mistake enough times of not wearing gloves. So I have a pair of cleaning gloves that I just use, or I use like medical grade gloves, but we just carved pumpkins and my boys are ridiculous and they don't like to touch the pumpkin goo with their hands, so I just went to the box of gloves and noticed them that they're all gone, and so I don't have any. So we're going to use these cleaning gloves and they'll work just fine. So I'm just slicing up my peppers so they'll fit in my dicer. And then, you know me, I always save the scraps to the side. So let me put the scraps that I'm getting in this bowl here. And so I will save some of the hot pepper seeds, and these ones that I'm cutting right now are not the hot ones, so I don't need to save their seeds, but I may save them to grow in the garden next year. It was really hot this summer in Oklahoma, and so the peppers and tomatoes didn't start doing good until it kind of started to cool down for fall. So as I was getting ready, okay, I'm gonna pull these peppers up. As I was getting ready to do that, they started producing like crazy. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll leave them be. But I really wanted to use the big raised bed that they're in for some greens, carrots, beets, and stuff. But those are gonna have to wait. So we're just cutting these up. All right, so I ended up with 6 cups. So I'll adjust my recipe accordingly with the amounts of pomegranate juice, pectin, and apple cider vinegar. But there's all those chopped peppers in there. There's a good mix of greens and reds, which I love, especially for making hot pepper jelly for gifts for Christmas. It's perfect. Okay, so 6 cups of peppers in here in the pot, and I've got this down to 1.5 cups of vinegar. This is the apple cider vinegar that had the peppers soaking in it. And then we're going to go ahead and add 2 packages of the pectin. And then this burner is going to go on high heat. We're going to bring it to a boil. So the burner's going high. And we'll bring this to a boil. And you want it to be a rolling boil. All right, we actually want to go ahead and add our pomegranate juice as well during this stage. I'm just adding just about a cup. Okay. Just kind of stirred that. We just want to make sure there's no chunks of the pectin. And we're just going to let that do its thing and bring to a boil. This is a good time to get your water bath going. All right, so I've got my water bath heating up, and I'm going to go ahead and measure out the sugar that I need to make my life a little bit easier. Okay, so I've got my kitchen scale in a bowl here, and I will need 7.5 cups of sugar, which is, there's 200 grams in a cup of sugar. I just like to weigh it, so much easier than measuring, and then you get a more accurate amount. So 200 grams in a cup. So I'm going to need 1,500 grams or 1.5 kilograms. So I'm just watching my scale. I got a little bit over, not by much, and it's perfect timing because my mixture just came to a boil. Okay, so there I've got the 1,500 grams or 7.5 cups of sugar. And this is boiling, so I'm going to remove it from the heat for just a minute. Let's add in our sugar. Just mix that in. And then we're going to bring it back to the heat. And we got to bring this back to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, we're going to boil for exactly 1 minute. So this is a good time to get your jars ready if you haven't already. Mine are sanitized, and I'll get them out on the counter here in just a minute. And I also like to boil my lids, so I'm going to get that going. So this is starting to boil here, and you want it to be, you want your minute to be a boil that can't be stirred down. So right now it can still be stirred down. So I've just, it's almost there. It's very close. Okay, so we've had that rolling boil for a minute. So I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm actually going to move my pan off the hot burner. And then we're just gonna let that sit for a minute. And we're gonna wanna skim off any of the foam. After it sits for a minute, we're gonna skim off the foam. As you can see, I've got my jars here. These are 4-ounce jars. And I like these size for gifts, and it's like perfect size if you're gonna serve hot pepper jelly over like a little bit of cream cheese or over some goat cheese. It's like the perfect size for a charcuterie board. And I find that if I do the larger jars, they don't get used, so I like to do the smaller ones for this. Okay, so I don't have a lot of foam, and I will say that when you do a pepper jelly versus like just a fruit jelly, it is a little harder because the peppers kind of float. It's a little harder to skim off the foam, but do your best. Okay, this is ready to go into jars. So I've got a ladle and I've got my funnel. Okay, 1/4 inch of headspace for these. I just love the color that the pomegranate juice gives to this jelly. Just adds a little bit more of a depth of color. I've just got a few jars left. It's looking like I counted right. If I didn't, the excess will just go in the fridge and I will eat it. Okay, so that last jar isn't really full enough, so we won't process that one. I'll just let that turn in, I'll just let that solidify and we'll use it for me. For this part, I like to have a clean microfiber rag, and I have a little bowl of vinegar. So I'm going to get my microfiber rag wet. And I'm going to go ahead and wipe the rims of all my jars with this vinegar. Every time I do this with the vinegar, it alerts me to little cuts that I have on my hands. It hurts. So go ahead and just wipe all the jars. Make sure you're getting any of that sugary jelly off the rims, because if it's left on there, the jars won't seal right. So I've got all my lids on, and I'm just going to finger tighten them all. Be careful, the jelly's hot and the jars are hot. Okay, so I've got the lids finger tight on all these guys. And my water's almost boiling here in my hot water bath. So I'm gonna put these little jars in here. And since they're small, we can double layer them. As long as they're all covered in boiling water by an inch, it's totally safe to do. I have this extra trivet from my pressure canner that I'm going to go ahead and use to help me out. Smaller jars can be a little harder to work with. They tend to want to tip over on you. Okay, I'll lower that one down in. Perfect. And I'm going to put my trivet in. Kind of trivet. Center it in the, there we got it. Okay, and then we'll put our next layer on. You just can't have your jars touching, so that's why the trivet's important. Okay, I'm going to put the lid back on and let that come to a boil. Once that's reached a boil, you're just going to process for 5 minutes and then remove the jars and let them cool. I always put them on a clean towel, and you're going to let them cool for 24 hours. Verify that they've sealed. If they've sealed, they're good for a year in your pantry. If they haven't sealed, then throw them in your fridge. Someone is sure to enjoy it. Thanks for joining me today. Go ahead and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check us out also on Facebook at Sagner Family Farm, and we're also on Instagram. Thanks so much. Have a great day.